going on, everybody? It is Wednesday night, and we got more things to talk about for the Suns. I kind of want to go back a little bit, and Connor and I touched on this a little bit yesterday after the Suns win about kind of the domino effect that's going to happen now because of the Kyrie injury. Now, this is going to actually really affect Phoenix in a couple of ways, both this season and next year, and I kind of want to pick them apart individually. So let's start with the effect that this is going to have this year. The wheels have fallen off Dallas. I mean, they're going somewhere, and it's down, and it is a crash and hurry. And Nico Harrison is, boy, this might be the worst GM job that anyone's. They were in the NBA Finals less than a year ago. They had an absolute superstar, a top 3 player in the league who hadn't even come close to touching his prime yet. And the run that they've had the last month, trading Luka, immediately first game AD gets hurt. Luka then goes on to help lead the Lakers all the way to the 2nd seed right now in the West. They announced they're going to raise ticket prices. And now Kyrie tears his ACL, and he's done for what's going to be at least a year, probably. So he might miss all of next year. And all of a sudden, that championship window is almost closed. And it looked like this is a championship window that should have been open for about 10 years with Luka. He ended that in the span of about a month, which is malpractice and bonkers. Like, absolutely bananas what he has done with that team. And there is a very good reason why the fans are upset as they are. But that's going to have a rippling effect on everybody else across the league. And so let's start with what that is going to do for the Suns this season. So without Kyrie in there, and it looks like they're going to be shutting down AD for the rest of the year, there's almost no way the Mavericks are going to hold on to that last spot. They got absolutely trounced tonight. Now, granted, I mean, the Bucks are really good, but they got absolutely just beat up tonight. So now, all of a sudden, when you take a peek at the standings, Phoenix, which it felt like they were dead in the water, they're only 2 back in the loss column. They are 2.5 back overall, 2 back in the loss column. They are right on the heels of the Mavs. And on this road trip that Phoenix has coming up, they play the Mavericks. So they're going to have an opportunity of erasing an entire game on the schedule if they can get a win there. They're going to have it's right there for the taking for Phoenix to go ahead and make this playoff or make this play in. And if that happens, things get interesting. If they can get out of the play-in and get into the actual playoffs at that point, things get interesting. What do you do if they end up getting out of there and who knows, goes on a run in the playoffs? Could they win a series? They have the talent. It's just it hasn't manifested in wins. It hasn't really kind of all clicked. It hasn't looked like it's going to, but it could. On certain nights it does, and they have guys that just by themselves. Could Booker just get hot and win a series, win a game? Sure. Could KD? Yeah, that absolutely could happen. So could it happen? Sure. And then the thing is, what do you do this offseason? It looks, I mean, all signs less than a week ago said they're headed towards breaking this entire roster up this offseason. But what do you do if you go on a little bit of a run? That was the caveat that they said about not trading KD, was they're going to look and work together about finding him a trade partner, unless barring they make a unforeseen run in the playoffs. Well, all of a sudden, there was no path a week ago. It didn't look like it. There is a clear path right now. And now it's just, can they make the step? Can they do it one step at a time? Can they get there? And then what happens when that, if and when, because I think it's guaranteed almost in my book that they're going to get that 10 seed at least. And then could they catch some of the other teams? They're not. They're only like 3 games behind like 5 teams. So could they get hot? It's possible. They have a tough road trip, 4 games on the road, and they are playing some stiff competition. So that's the first piece of the Kyrie going down is this team was dead in the water, and it looked like they were the only place they were going was Cancun. It looked like they were on vacation and just ready for the season to end and be on a break. And all of a sudden you look around and you're like, wait a second, like we could do this. They can. Will they? I think they'll get in to at least to the play-in. What happens after that? Tough to say with this team, man. They're so hot and cold. There's so much talent. You still want to believe, despite now 60 games basically of evidence, you still want to believe that maybe this is next game. This is going to be the one where it finally all clicks into place and they kind of figure it out. It's tough when you don't really have the full evidence for it, but you want to believe. So the other piece of this, which I find just as fascinating, you might remember that the Mavericks were one of the favorites to trade for KD this offseason. First of all, before I continue, there's someone in the comments last time when I talked about the potential trade partners for KD that we could go, talking about we gave up 6 first-round draft picks for him. We're going to get that much back. We don't want any of these. You're out of your mind if you think you're getting 6 first-round picks for KD. I don't care how good he's playing right now. That was 3-4 years ago when he was 34 and still at the tail end of his prime. He's 37. I don't care what kind of numbers he's putting up right now. He's going to be 37 next year. You're not getting 6 first-round draft picks for a guy his age. If you get 3, that is going to be an absolute haul for him right now. And also, complaining that you're getting role players or guys that show some flashes of potential just show you don't know where this team is right now because they're not close. They're not one piece away from being a championship team if you take KD off of them. We're not just adding another star to it. We're taking KD away from the team and replacing it. And if you think there's anybody in the league you could replace KD with short of Jokic, you're crazy. It's just not going to happen. There's no way they're competing in that situation. It's the moment you trade KD, you are pressing the reboot button. Any reboot begins with draft picks, and it begins with young guys that show potential that you think can become stars, hopefully. And it begins with expiring contracts that free up salary on your team. Those are the 3 things that the Suns are going to be looking for and trying to get back in this potential trade that's probably coming this offseason. Just depends on what the Suns do here the rest of the year. But if you take the Mavericks out of the equation, they can't be interested in trading for KD anymore, right? You look at their timeline, the idea would have been you pair KD with Kyrie and AD, and you run that 3-headed monster out there, and that is a really, really good 3-headed monster. And you see if with it you go win a title. Well, if Kyrie's not there next year, and you're talking about another season of all those guys getting older, so you're talking it wouldn't even be at that point. It'd be going KD'd be 38. You're hoping that version of him paired with AD, who, I mean, he did better staying healthy, but he's just, you don't exactly have full-on confidence with him. And, I mean, I feel terrible for Kyrie after the way they kind of reinvented himself and his legacy a little bit, but I hope we get to see the same Kyrie that everyone grew up watching and kind of fell in love with, a guy that's just a magician with the ball. But see how, I mean, they've gotten better with these surgeries, but you hope that his knee can heal enough, that his leg can, that he can be that guy again. But normally, even that first year back, guys don't look the same. It normally takes about 2 years, and he's not exactly a spry chicken. So you're talking about an older player in that as well. So if that takes the Mavericks off the board, there are only so many teams that are going to be interested in trading for KD. Now, every team would take KD, but it comes with a price, and it also comes with the idea that you got to believe you're one piece away from a title. Okay, so the only teams that are on that list of that potential trade partners, they got to believe they're one piece away from a title. They got to have draft picks, capital, something that they can give up in a trade. They got to have matching-ish contracts they're willing to get rid of. Suns really only want those contracts if they're expiring, so it's got to be a contract that's near the end. And they also have to have probably one or two young guys that have shown some promise that they can throw in as sweeteners in the deal as well. There's not a lot of those guys out there, a lot of those teams. That's a small list of people that check all of those boxes. One of them was the Mavericks. They're not that anymore. So the market just shrunk significantly for KD. And that now it's the best thing that could happen for the Suns is there is a 6-7 teams trying to bid against each other so that it just drives up the price and they're able to get a king's ransom for KD right now. Every time you knock off one of those players off the board, what the Suns will get in return shrinks dramatically because there's just less offers. There's less teams going up against each other. So this trade, this injury on a basketball level, while it gives them a chance to compete a little bit more this year and make a run of the playoffs, it might hurt them a little bit next year in the long run because it makes the bidding war for KD this summer one player less, one team less. So what can they get for him? It's going to depend how many teams are left or interested or kind of going after him. So much. I mean, take the Suns out of the equation as far as winning a title. It's not going to happen this year. So remove them. Regardless of that, these playoffs are so critical right now for what happens for the Suns' future because they need teams like the Thunder. They need teams, maybe the Grizzlies, that have young talent stars that think that they are close to dramatically come up short. They need them to believe that they need to shake things up and that they will make trade offers for it. If the Thunder win the title, they're not going to trade for KD. They're going to run back what they have. Well, that eliminates another team. If the Grizzlies make the Western Conference Finals and Ja plays crazy and is just awesome, they're not going to do it either. I mean, you need some of these teams to underachieve or believe that they are just right there and that KD is the missing piece. And when that happens, teams are willing to overpay for him. And that's best case scenario, that's what the Suns want right now. They want these playoffs to help create a market where teams will overbid for KD. Got to watch it. Got to see what happens. I mean, again, back to the very beginning, I feel awful for Kyrie. I feel awful for every Mavs fan that is absolutely going through it right now. But this is going to be something, that injury is going to have ripple effects across the league and significant, probably no more so other than the Mavericks themselves. This is going to really affect what happens for the Suns here over the next few months. For better, for worse, we're going to find out. I mean, again, let's see what happens when they get into that play-in and kind of if Phoenix can magically go on a run right now. They pulled the 23-point comeback just, the other night. So maybe they can, build off of that, and they found something. Maybe they found a little bit of fight because I feel like that was the biggest thing that this team was missing right now. Maybe they found it.